Hello and welcome. You're watching the Tov Jewish News Channel. My name is Michael Vilensky, and my guest today is Professor David Pasig, professor in the Bar Ilan University. David, welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
David, you are a specialist in the field of AI and in everything related to our scary future, and also you are a religious person. And I want to ask you, how do these two combine? So, what I mean is, many people see AI as a danger to our existence and to the way we live our lives, and especially many religious people are opposed to the development of AI. So the connection of religion and AI raises many questions. For example, is AI a soul and should it be given rights in the religious sense? And if man created the AI, as AI is man-made, so did man become God? How do these two things work together?
Well, these are, a series of questions. I need to, dissect all those assumptions and try to explain something very fundamental. You see, as a species, we do not accept our existence and its constraints as it is. Okay? From a Jewish point of view, for example, one of the most important tenets in Jewish thought is that in the future there won't be death anymore. It's called Tchiyat HaMetim, which means that as a very conscious and let's say intellectual being on earth, we strive constantly to break our constraints, to break our envelope, and we have been doing it for millennia. At the beginning, for example, we did not accept that we are able to walk 4 kilometers an hour, and then we have invented the wheel in order to walk much faster. At the end, we even invented the wings with which we are flying from place to place. In the 20th century, we did an amazing breakthrough, which is we were able to push the envelope of our cognitive abilities, which means we have developed tools that are able to contain huge amounts of data that our mind cannot even try even to remember. And then we were trying to develop tools with which we were able to analyze huge amounts of data. And we are at the stage in which we are just trying to mimic our ability to think. That's it. That's AI. It's another tool that pushes the envelope of our cognitive abilities. But these are not the most important characteristic of us as a species. The most important characteristic is our consciousness, which means that when I know something, I know that I know something, which is something unusual. There's no such an animal on earth that, as far as we know, that is able to know that it knows, and in knowing that it doesn't know, etc., etc., or knowing the validity of our knowledge. This is something really very unique to us, and we are just at the verge of starting to explore that abilities to mimic it in our technologies. So in any way, thinking about AI as something which is unusual, from my point of view, this is just another stage in which we're another stage in a very long journey for many millennia, in which we are constantly trying to enhance our abilities, physical abilities, cognitive capabilities. But we are just at the very beginning of our existence on this earth. By all means, if you take a look just from a religious point of view, what we are just a few millennia here. Even if you take a look at our species from a scientific point of view, nonetheless, we are just a few 10,000 years. The Homo sapiens is around something like 250,000 years. by all means, this is just the beginning of this species. And being afraid, this is something which is good. Shlomo Melech already said, "Ashrei haish mefached tamid." The person that is constantly, in fear, that's something which is, generally speaking, a good thing. That way you are much careful. That way you look at the positive aspects of any development, and you try to avoid the negative aspects. So at least from my point of view, this is exactly what the Bible is speaking, that this species is ותחסרהו מעט מאלוהים. We are just, a little bit less than God. And we have, a very long route to even try to achieve that, that closeness to the deity.
So, if I understood you correctly, you said that what defines and makes humans unique from and different from animals is our cognitive ability, which makes us understand that we understand. Cogito ergo sum,
No,
as
that's not a
Descartes.
cognitive ability. That's not a cognitive ability. This is consciousness.
Consciousness,
Okay?
exactly.
Cognitive abilities, that's cognition. These are two different things. Okay? That the ability to be aware of yourself. Let's say, for example, a kid of 1 year old, a couple of years old, doesn't know that he's a kid or she is a kid. Okay, we start being aware even about our gender only later in our life. So
David,
we are evolving.
I just wanted to ask my question, right? I want to get to the point to make sure if I understood you
Okay.
correctly. So, if AI does AI has this capacity, and if it does it make AI human in some sense?
No, we are very far from really mimicking our ability to think in a way that is, a valid, smart way of thinking. We are just now statistically trying to mimic our ability to speak or to draft sentences. This is not real intelligence. Intelligence is something very different. By the way, by definition, one of the definitions is that intelligence is the ability to perceive patterns that are all around us and validate those patterns, be it economic patterns to scientific patterns to social patterns. It doesn't matter. Our ability to perceive pattern and validate those patterns is an intellectual issue. We are still in AI very far even to achieve that thing.
Um, David, as a person who understands the future, every development in our in our surroundings as human beings also influenced us, our bodies, and our evolution as a species, right? So, for example, the fact that we had to think how to survive made us have bigger brains, and this is how we developed as a species. Or the fact that we ate meat made us develop specific teeth that were good for eating meat. How will the development of AI, influence us as a species? Will our brain get smaller because we don't need to think as much because we always have AI? What will be the process there?
We have to be very careful, very, very careful not to watch a lot of science fiction movies. On those movies, people tend to go wild about different directions. You know, our tools have a great effect on each one of us. At this very moment, we are speaking from afar. It has a great effect on my ability even to understand myself. Just take, for example, that as at this very moment, I see myself speak. This is something unusual, and I see things that I don't want it to be, to be seen on TV or on any platform. So just by developing a tool that we are able to speak with each other and see ourselves speak with each other, this is an amazing thing, and we are able to see ourselves speaking during our speech, which is by itself has a great effect on my ability to understand myself. The same thing with, just inventing a hammer. That gives us a different aspect of our physical abilities. And just think about the mirror. The first time people, invented a mirror and watched their face on a very clear mirror. We are constantly being affected by the technologies, the tools we are developing. Take another example, our cell phones. We are able now to speak from one corner of the world to another corner of the world in fractions of seconds. This is something which means that we are developing our really oral and our senses are becoming very different than we used to be, and perceive them for millennia. So any tool that we are developing has a great effect. It is at the beginning of every tool. A lot of people are very much afraid. Think about the wheel. The first people that invented the wheel, I can just imagine that they were so frightened that that will break their bones every time they'll be on that. Or think about the time that we have just discovered how to move from one place to another place, a flame, okay, of fire. How devastating probably it was to a lot of people, just perceiving that we are able, to have in our hands something that it can be so devastating. The same thing with nuclear power. Everything we are developing at the very beginning, we are very afraid of our achievement. Step by step, bit by bit, we understand its potential, and we understand better its negative outcomes, and we are maneuvering between those two opposite sides. But generally speaking, we are constantly developing and making our surrounding much better, much comfortable, much smarter, etc., etc. Just think about the next stage in which our things are going to start thinking for us, which we call at the moment IoTs. So my table will be, interacting with me. People will be shocked that their surrounding are becoming much more smarter. Not just a computer that can mimic the way I speak, which is nothing. So I'm not afraid. I see the development of humankind as something that is infinite in the future, and we are just at the very early stages of our evolution.
Uh, David, for the end of our interview, I want to get from we're talking about what happened with the development of AI, and I want to go to the future, right? Because people call you a futurist. I want to talk about the future. What will come after AI? What will be the next development? What will be people shocked at, after as the next innovation?
Well, the next innovation, which is already in the making, but it's not so widely spread all over, is what we call Internet of Things. In the last 50 years, we have developed tools we call computers, and we were able to connect those computers all together and develop something huge that is called the internet. But this is not it. Now we are starting to connect our things together. We are starting to connect the table with the window, and the window with the doorsteps. Everything will be connected, and everything will share data and information. Now, this is what we call Internet of Things. There is another level of Internet of Things that people are not still aware of, which we call the social Internet of Things. We are now embedding within our things sociability, the ability to communicate among themselves and share information even without us knowing what they are sharing, for their sake and for our betterment of our surrounding. Now, this sounds fascinating, but there are a lot of companies already that are developing those kind of technologies, And at the end, we will be engulfed with so many smart, small and big things that they will be able to take care of all our needs, and they will be able to take care of their needs without us being, involved in that process. For example, if a gadget or table doesn't need some electricity, I don't have to go and plug that table or gadget to the wall. It will by itself order online some kind of a file which is electricity for the next 24 hours for themselves. I don't have even to be involved in that process. They'll be able to share, to trade with each other things. So we are at a stage in which we are going to make our surrounding much more intelligent, much more capable to take care of themselves, and we will not be able to, will not have to just invest most of our time of our existence on this earth just taking care of our surroundings, so that our surrounding will be able to somehow sustain us as a species.
David, thank you for this amazing interview. Very puzzling and very, awakens the questions about our future, but still
Thank you so
very,
much.
very, very interesting. Thank you also to all of our viewers that saw this interview. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on all of our social media platforms and especially on our WhatsApp group. The link will be down here in the description to this video. Thank you again. Have a great day.